Golly, guys, I was recording an episode of the Code Chronicles, and then my phone storage backed up on me, so I had to delete some videos and get back to it. But let me just cover that episode. We'll just start over. Welcome to the Code Chronicles, guys. It's your lovely host Pags, episode 60, I believe. This episode, it's important to me. You know, we're moving right along and we're literally off the ground. This is crazy. There's users using this application. Obviously, the front end Kanban draggable component isn't fully up to date with data, so that's one issue that is here. But altogether, super proud, super excited for this application and everything that is turning out to be. It's a project management solution for those new, and the project management solution is we have the ability to nominally track tasks, check in on your project, manage projects, obviously, count the granularities of your project. There's About page about me. You can upgrade the membership for more functionality. The free tier, there's 2 projects you can manage. Membership upgraded, you could do 10 projects and many more tasks you can create. And then finally, I added a report issue bug. Before diving into the content of what I was recording for today's episode, I want to just highlight this report issue bug that one of the current users opted or recommended maybe I should create, and here it is. So thank you very much for that recommendation. And what it is I obviously want to get feedback on suggestions for improvements and suggestions for possible new features, things like this. So this is a great place to do it. I know it's a report bug issue, but if you guys have suggestions, please put them here as well. So how I have it labeled is label your bug initially. If you see something in Team Syncer of, hey guys, or hey Ryan, I would really like this type of feature, or hey this dashboard page had a bug. So on dashboard or on this label your bug slide, just title it with dashboard page bug, and then as you could read here, the description, the next step is describing your bug. So we pop to the next step. I don't let you submit it until you enter a description. So go ahead and describe your bug. Hey, Ryan, great work, but I noticed the dashboard page had a minor bug of such and such. Here is a solution I thought of, right? I think feedback like this is amazing, and all I ask, your version of that, just please don't be an asshole, guys. Like, I'm a one-man team on this right now. The good news is I did have some engineers reach out as they want to help or be employed through Team Syncer, which I think is phenomenal, right? With like that is so humbling and flattering, and hopefully there's a reality where that can become a tangible thing here shortly. But let's start with getting Team Syncer fully off the ground, and here's a great way to help me with that and help bring value to you guys. So boom, you submit the bug. I give you successful feedback, and then I give you thank you for your feedback, your diligence and support. It makes me keep going. So boom, it was a successful report, and then I just take you back to your business, whatever you need to do. So if you guys want to access the full version, by the way, it's teamsyncer.com, just as you spell it. Team, as you spell team, TEAM, and then Syncer's the tricky part, just SYNCR. So this is it. Pop on by on the dashboard, check it out, poke around, be one of the early users, and it means more than you guys know. And your feedback is going miles. It's being integrated. It's being positively viewed and looked at in my lens. So I really appreciate it. You could go ahead and sign up with a federated identity. Takes you to your account, and I should have a lot of the draggable stuff hopefully fixed out here sooner than later, and then we're back up to the full functioning system. So that's kind of the last page I'm working on is this, and then reintegrating that with the statistics page and then the manager of projects page. But yeah, so it's an amazing system all put together and expanding. There's software engineering friends of mine that gave me really, really brilliant ideas. So I'm steadily working on it. And the one thing that I want to work on, and now after getting through the introductory part of this video in episode 60, the one thing I want to hone in on is getting the APIs integrated properly, or reintegrated, I should say, to the Kanban page. We did have a working version of this in earlier episodes where we had our proper tasks being tracked to the database and proper columns and things like this. It just the change happened because on that Kanban page I actually still have the endpoint up. The Kanban page, it's all actually over here on the left. If we look at it, boom, Kanban page. It's all still up and functioning. The base columns component that we built out and all these things, boom, base columns with the base column within it. So I'll pop that open. And there's a ton of logic and functionality associated with this. But the reason why I changed it was because I couldn't drag tasks, I couldn't drag columns the way it was set up. So after a lot of Googling, a lot of ChatGPT, a lot of Stack Overflow, a lot of help from the community, I was able to get it to start dragging. So, and it's heavily modeled after the what's it called, the I want to say drag and drop library from React. But so this is the previous Kanban page that used to exist with loadings, and these columns are actually being queried from my database. But yeah, we're going to have to obviously deprecate this and move forward this approach with the draggable context in play. So a little bit more tricky, a little bit more convoluted, because we have to handle this case with updates this way. And then also this is really going to be a tricky one, is the tasks, I believe, because we still have to nominally track all the tasks that belong to the projects and the projects that belong to the users or associated with the users, so the project user compound keys. And then the many-to-many relationships there, and then the one-to-many relationships with the columns to tasks. And yeah, I haven't fully thought it out. And then I also need the task orders within the columns, and then also the column orders within the projects. So it's been a little bit tricky for my brain to process, but nonetheless, I am going to figure it out. I think that's the name of the game. And today, the episode, I want it to be about integrating the column endpoint, where we could just pull columns from the back end. Just again, you know what I mean? Like that was a big thing. So this is basically what we need to define in the back end is columns, just like this, because this is what we are using on the front end right now, just to dummy demonstrate this reordering stuff. So this is what it'll look like if I delete one of those. We can't see that anymore. Boom. We just have two columns. If I add this, we should have a third one pop up if I refresh. So let's just build for this in the database. Super easy peasy. The only thing I'm worried about is now that the order we have to store them in associated to this project or this column board. So there's some ideas. Drag column ID that I've associated. Obviously asking ChatGPT, where it's saying you may need to establish a relationship with the board ID. So we're not going to do that quite yet. Let's just tackle this, just getting the drag column IDs. They are definitely going to have to belong to a board, and boards are going to have to belong to projects, I think. But I would like it if each column knew about the how are we going to do this? See, guys, it's tricky. It's tricky to think about, but I think that might be the key. Is each column should know what order it's in associated with the columns showing on this project, or we have So projects have tasks, projects have columns, and columns have tasks. But projects should also now have boards, and boards have columns, columns have tasks. Might be the order of it. So there might be a bit of a hierarchy here of model, we'll call it drag board or column board or something. I'll just call it all drag right now, just for convenience of being able to see the drag material we're working on. So I'll call drag column ID will be drag board ID, and this will be drag board order, which I'm unsure if it needs to be a string or an array of strings or something. We'll configure this in a moment, but let's start, because this also needs to be associated to projects, so we need the project ID. So we'll worry about the board in a moment, but I think it's going to have to be something like this, where it's going to be a separate piece of data that we need to store. Unless I could do it all in this drag column, where the column is associated to the project ID as well, and it somehow knows its order. That would be pretty sleek. So if the drag column knew the order associated in its index of 0, 1, 2, or 3, would be kind of cool. So int, and then it also would need drag or the project that it belongs to. And maybe it's actually that easy. I don't know if that's easy, but it might work. So project user, maybe we would have model. So this is a compound key, the project user. So it's associating my projects to users, and then I would do the same thing for project drag column, right? So I now know exactly which columns are associated to the project. So instead of getting a batch of columns batched together, I would actually fetch for one column at a time, I guess, associated to, and then each one of those columns would have to know their index. So hey, I'm the 0th index column or the 1st index column. I could do that, or we could do the drag board, and then the compound key would be the project board relationship. So, yeah, a lot to think about. Okay, but before thinking about all that, let's just build out the columns. I guess let's just get this firing off and this all integrated properly. I think that's a big enough task for today. So I will make a new endpoint. So we'll go to Pages, API. We need to build out a folder called columns. And then this file would, I really should make a decision though on board versus if we want to do the board thing, because this is going to affect it right now. If I want to do the board, I should make it associated to the board ID right now, not a project ID. If I want to do the project ID, I need to do that now too as well. So let's ideate out loud before writing code, because that could actually save a lot of time and be less of a headache. So I'm going to build a new Lucid chart here, and let's think about it. Let's just ideate out loud, and you guys could see me walk through this process. So let me just delete this. Boom. Don't need it, even though it's pretty. Let's think about this. So we have our column or our projects, right? Our project data. And this is all of our data associated with it. Projects, they're going to include all these users. They're going to include, well, they already do include users. They do associates stuff and tasks. Let's think about it. So if I stored these boards, right? So all the boards would be is just basically columns. And the columns would basically be their own column, right? Kind of showing the hierarchy of data. So in other words, this would be like a board piece, which has a column, and these columns also have tasks. So what I'm advocating is two approaches. Either one is this approach, right? On the left where we have boards and columns, or this approach on the right where we just have columns. So let's see. So I would need a board. Let's see if I could put data modeling here. Oh, it won't let me put spaces beneath for some reason. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this I would need a board ID. I would need a project board compound key. And that would probably honestly be enough. So a board ID and a project board ID would be the API integration between this relationship here. That would be enough to, I think, do that. And then these columns would need probably column ID. They would need I wouldn't need the index as much anymore because the boards would tell me the column index. And then I would need a column title, then column tasks. Oh, and then they do need to know which board they belong to. So I would need to know the board ID that they belong to. Oh, and then I guess the boards would also need a board order or a column order. But maybe the board would be an array of columns or something like that. So that would roughly be our relationships there. Or do I somehow do this where the column itself, I have a project column ID. So all columns have projects that they belong to. So project column ID. Then I need a column ID. Then I need obviously the column name. And then I would also need the column tasks. So to build the column task ID relationship. And then what else would we need? We'd also need the column index, like the order of it, right? So column order. Let's see. And I don't know which way is going to be less work. So, and then obviously task, we need task ID, task name, all those things. But this would make the relationship between the columns really easy because I would just fetch for the project and include the columns. The columns would then sort themselves. But I'm just, it seems like less work, right? But I just want to make sure before going down that approach. Because then all I need to do is just build smart columns, which I think we talked about earlier in the series, where the columns kind of index and handle themselves. But I don't know how that's necessarily going to happen. Because each column, this would basically be an array of columns, right? So it would more or less be where's the drag Kanban? More or less, it would be this. I mean, both are going to be a array of columns. My gut for some reason is saying go this way, right? My gut is saying no, build your board associated to the project, your columns associated to the board, your tasks associated to the columns. But my brain is saying no, there could be an easier approach. There could be a method where you could reorganize the columns all handle themselves, so I don't need to keep track of this board component because that's just going to add more complexity to atomic functions, to maybe updating tasks. Who knows, right? So decisions, but they do need to be made. I think generating columns associated to a project associated to tasks, I think is an easy enough deal. I think the less working parts, the better. So let's opt for this approach first. If there's serious issues, we're going to know immediately. Another roundabout solution is integrate this board approach. But if there's a way to have less working parts, I think that's better. I think it's better. So decisions made here. Let's go for that decision. So we want the drag column order, which we'll keep here then. And these columns need to have a project user. So perfect, we'll keep all that stuff. We got drag column here, boom, boom. Boom, okay, so let's just get this data figured out and we'll make this associated to a project ID then. Now we can kind of fly through some of this stuff. So columns, associated to project ID. Let's just pull in one of our functions so we can easily post a column and get columns. So we're not going to use Redis quite yet. We'll clean up caching and things like that when we need to, but not right now. Not right now. We're just going to do the easy peasy approach of getting data and posting it. So, and that'll be enough for today. It's just going to be simple building it out. I think the biggest approach is just making sure we're doing that properly. So, or approaching it in a way that's proper. So, we'll even change this to post. Sorry guys, it's definitely taken a bit. So post columns. And we got a user ID. We need a project ID from the query. And we don't need, well, we need to do a few things. One, I need to generate the contract again in Prisma. So Prisma generate, update all of our Prisma functionalities. And then I actually do need to pull in the project ID from this column thing. So I should probably build a column store. Would probably be the easiest way to manage all these columns and orderings of them. So boom, our column ID is, or columns will be pulling up a project ID. In Prisma, I will generate here. Prisma, I should get all my smart things associated with it. All my IntelliSense should be there. So start typing away. Prisma, notifications. Let's see, what did we model it? Drag column. Guys, I'm sorry, it's so slow when I'm recording all the things. It takes forever. So it's usually much faster. But okay, so drag column and then create and then data. Say where project ID or go like this where why no worky? Why? Drag column, there it is. Okay, boom. So that should take care of that underline. Let's give it a sec, and then we have drag column ID. So we need to generate that, and then we need to make that a string. So I'll put that there like this. Obviously it doesn't exist yet, so that's why we're having an error. And we need all of our drag column titles. So that'll be something we pass in as well. And then drag column order, it looks like. So, and that'll be our string or our number. And this will be ultimately our drag column. Guys, I know the name sounds a little weird, but it's because I have a, it's because I have what's it called, another column thing that we use for the Canva page. So I don't want to fully offload and deprecate that quite yet, not until this is fully working. Then we can rename everything. Not a big deal to me, but I don't want to do that until we know. So const drag column ID, let's see this, equals crypto.random UUID. And that'll handle that. And then from the rec body, we need to pull in drag column title and drag column order, I believe. So project ID, what do I need to do with this? We had one more setting, I believe. So if I want to associate a user to a project, how do I do that? I say project user, and then in my project I have users, and then in my, that's a many-to-many relationship. And then in my users, I should have projects, but that's, but it'll still be a many-to-many relationship, I realize, because it's projects can have multiple columns. But can columns have multiple projects? I would say no, only a column can belong to one project. So it should be a one-to-many relationship. One project can have many columns, but one column cannot have many projects. So that helps it a little bit. So what's a way we can look at that? That's tasks. But the user and task, that's also a many-to-many relationship. So let's maybe ask ChatGPT to generate this for us. Say, here is our project. Here is my project model. I want to generate a one-to-many relationship in which a project can have many drag columns, but a drag column can only belong to one project, right? That's perfect. That's perfect. So there's the project model, popped it in there, and then I say, here is my drag column model, and it should build us out a one-to-many relationship. And if this works, where we can get the drag order and the columns handle themselves and we don't have to stash the array of columns, we just literally have like 0, 1, 2, like probably at most, maybe we'll limit it to like 7 columns or something that a user can post. I think that would work really well. I really do. I think there's a potential here where we don't have to track the boards. We don't have to, less work in parts there. So this is what it has for drag column is this. And then let's go to the project. We need to update the project to also accept columns. So boom, this is the line for columns. Let's see what the error is here. Auto increment needs to be ID. Underscore ID, excuse me, because we're using MongoDB, and a map. So boom, there's all of our stuff right there. Perfect. So the project ID we need to pop in now as a foreign key, it says. And it looks like it improves query performance. Okay, cool. Didn't know that. I think that's it. I think we just need to pop in the project ID here. So can you update this endpoint? Boom. Which we already have. I don't know if we need to do where, right? Where it says where data, like this, where project ID, something like this. Or if I need to do something else. So let's see what it says. No, it says just post it in. Post it in there. Okay, cool. So validate the response first. I need a project ID. Boom. If no project ID, throw an error. Project ID is required. And then it just says put project ID into here. Oh, and then drag column ID is not associated to number. We want that to be a string. Throw it in the database that way. Love me some good old strings. Prisma generate, regenerate the contract. That should fix everything, guys. So I think from a data standpoint, this will work. This will work. And then I will ask ChatGPT, can you build us a Zeus stand store for columns? And that way we can manage all the columns. We have endpoints for it. We got a store for it. Put the column store here. But it looks like it's not posting the right type of material. So let me give it a, let's see, stores I think could be deprecated. But we need to do something like this where we put it in Axios and then send it to the back end to that endpoint we just made. So can you make this column store from this template? Boom. Okay. Really, I guess we could do it too. We can not have to wait. So store state, I'll say column state. Let's just first of all get our naming proper. Use column store instead of notification store. Oh, no, it looks like it ran through with all this stuff. Okay, so it has create column, update column, get columns, sweet, delete column. Boom, look at that. We have an error. Probably not a big deal. I'm sure it's something simple. Always is, and we pass in the project ID. So not a problem to do when we call this from the front end. Columns. Drag column ID, looks like column. Delete column, you are missing something. Well, let's just get rid of all of these right now. We just want post column. Let's just start there. See how that goes, right? So boom. We just need create column. Sweet. Okay, so that's our create column. Let's just see if it gets into our database today, and then I will wrap that episode up or this episode up, because that's a lot of how do you say, associating a column to a project, and obviously building out the column schema. So the one-to-many relationship. That's a lot of stuff done today. So let's go to the project selector. Every time I select a project, I now want to show that project inside of the application. So let's do that. I guess I don't even want to do it here in the project selector. I actually want to do it in the in-app layout, where we have base app wrapper. Let's see. Alert, where do I have the project selector? I just want it on top on the nav bar again. We've done this a few times, right? So base top nav, I think, is where I've done it many times before. Let's go ahead and just do that. So let's say project store. I know I need to clean a few things up. Base project. Oh, it looks like project store is not brought in here. Well, let's bring it in. Not a big deal. I will go ahead and I almost want to build a context for the project as well. So the entire, I probably should do that actually, where we use a context for the selected project. And that way we always have that project in the entire application instead of having to invoke the store, having to fetch it, having to do all that stuff. So we'll probably end up doing that as well. I think that's a pretty good idea. Let's see if that pops up on the, because we need that ID to post this column situation, right? But I know that would make this just phenomenal to have that project in a use context hook where we can always pull it in. So I'll probably end up doing something like that because then I never have to invoke the project store again outside of functionality for it. But as far as reading stuff, like I really want to just pull a project into the React client side, you know, and then they have everything. They have their tasks, they have their users associated with the project, they have everything within that data package. Boom, right there. You've got it. You don't need to go back to the store after you fetch it the first time. It's there. It's there the whole time. So I think that's what I'll end up doing here in a moment. I think that cleans everything up. There's always a huge opportunity for this because everything is also wired to the project. So the base project selector really should be responsible for setting up that use context hook. Where right now what it does, it sets it up in the store and then everything's pointing at the store when really the data should just be accessible there everywhere. So let's see, base project store, boom, there it is. There's our ID. Sweet. Nice. So let's get this column posted real quick and then I'll wrap it up and maybe behind the scenes I'll do that. That deal with the use context hook just pulling in the project and not having to worry about it after it's pulled in. Can have all my IDs readily available, all my data wherever I need it. So I think it's a really powerful idea. I'm going to put this project ID somewhere, just boom, smack dab in the middle. And then I want to build a on the drag column. So boom, that's the project ID. So if I select another project, I should see that change. I did not see that change. So obviously some reactivity issues there, but at least we have one project ID. That'll be good enough for now. Let's pull in the column store. So Kanban store, column store, use column store. Probably need to pull it in unless it did. Nope. Add column store, boom, okay. And then we'll say function post column. And I'm not even gonna do anything. I'll just literally hard code everything in right here. Let's go to the column store, wherever that was. Boom. We need the project ID as the first piece, then the title, then the order. So let's just go ahead and get that in there. So it's associated with the project ID. We need a title. So we'll say new column. Then we need the order. And I believe it was an int, an integer. So create column 3. Enrichment for project ID was not provided. That is a lie. It's right. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so boom. That's the first or the first column of this, and then we'll build a magical button that pushes that. So here we go. Right over here. Boom, button. I'll say post column. And all that button's going to do is just fire off that function. It's all going to be ugly. It's all, you know, it's not doing nothing fancy. So let's refresh it and check our database. We're going to get ready for this. Let's see. It's refreshing, loading. Guys, I am so proud of myself on this project. I cannot stop just looking at this as like, wow, what a journey it's been. 60 episodes of doing this and getting after it. So boom, let's post the column. I think it posted. Let's check the database. Looks like there might have been an error, something. So let's go ahead and debug, and then we're off to the races. We're off to the races. Project ID string. Okay. So here's how to do that. Boom. String. Problem solved. And let's try it one more time. Boom. Post. I don't see it popping up. So what I need to do is just make sure the create columns store is firing off. Oh, API columns. I think we just named it column, right? Correct. Did we? Columns? No, column. There it is. Oh, and then I passed in the project ID as a parameter here, but it needs to be a query. Either or is fine, but it just needs to be congruent. So let's refresh, make sure everything's up to date on the DOM, and then fire that off. Let's see. Boom, drag column. There it is, folks. There it is. It's amazing. So now we know it's associated to this project. Posted that right there. We got the ID of the column, which is fine. So it's just a unique ID that is associated to only that column that ever will exist uniquely. We're not going to have many to do columns no, we're not going to do that. They're all going to be unique to this ID. Then we have the maybe fetch function I could quickly do, but more or less that's pretty much wrapping up the episode. So I can maybe just quickly do this, I'll wrap it up and just do this behind the scenes, but it'll just be a quick get columns function. And on the front end, I'll just show the columns that are there, and that's it. So I'll need to get them by the column ID though, so I'll keep that all here. It's not a post function, so I don't need to do this. I need to find many, and it'll be where project ID equals project ID. That, I believe, will give us all the drag columns. When we fire off this function, so, well, we're here now, might as well build it up. So I'll say get columns, right? Get columns. And what I need is the project ID in that function. Response, yeah, we do pass it as a query. Actually don't need any body, so we'll go ahead and remove that. Project ID, got it, nice. And we can even just console log the response. If I can see it here, I could put it anywhere in the application. So let's get columns. We need to build this. Oh, needs to be a get column naming. And it needs to have the project ID for all this right here. Boom. So that should all be up to date and good to go. And we just need to fire that off now on the front end. And wherever we were doing that, I think the drag Kanban. I'll even put it right below here. Say drag get columns. Delete our other unnecessary arguments. And let's see. So boom, why is it throwing an error? Shouldn't be. Expected one argument, but got 3. Okay. It's now good to go. And I'm going to fire this off. So it'll post a new column, but we should see a response here to get the columns as well. API column / project ID. Let's see. So we should see a few more posted. So we've clicked it a few times. It did not see the response though here. So console log test. Let's just see it firing off. I am not seeing it, folks. Thought that would be a lot smoother. But we did establish the many-to-many relationship. That was almost pretty smooth. So if there's no project ID coming from the rec query. Guys, what a deal, right? What a deal. So boom. Does that fire it off? Get drag columns. Oh, these columns are spelled wrong. Nice. I'll fix that spelling in a moment. But let's see. That's probably why. We spelled them wrong. So I'll fix the spelling, but if I post this, I should see, we saw an API error. So we have test. So it is firing off, and then we do go down our deal here. We should see more, but guys, I'll debug it. It's probably just something super tiny. Not too worried about it at all. So I'll fix that now and get this episode uploaded pronto, like yesterday. But the good news is we did get the one-to-many relationship posted, and I think approach this in an idea that could streamline some moving pieces. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And Team Syncer is out now, so go give it a spin. Go see what it's about. Cheers.